cost management, quality management, resources management, communications management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholder engagement. So totally we are going to learn 49 processes. There are 2 processes from initiation, 24 processes from the planning, 10 processes from executing, 12 processes from monitoring control, and 1 process from closing process group. This is the process map which we have in page number 25 in the Canva. That you can see all the processes. So let's talk about overview. The first process in the initiation is develop project charter. Develop project charter. So what we spoke about initiation. Tell me about initiation. What is initiation?
Initiation would be like reviewing and understanding the project charter.
Project
And
brief.
Yeah.
Developing the project charter is initiation.
Yeah.
So when I started, what is the result of this process? Project charter is the result of this process. So what are we doing in this process? We are defining the project at high level. We are defining the project at high level in order to make sure all the stakeholders have clear understanding about the objectives of the project, the goals which we set for the project, what are the high level requirements of the stakeholders, what are the key deliverables expected from this project, what is the timeline we're expecting this project to be completed, what is the budget the stakeholders are ready to spend for this project, what are all the risks they could see while they are initiating the project. Maybe market condition is bad or market condition is good. So they have analyzed. So they identified certain risks which are high level risks. Of course, we need to do a detailed risk analysis during the planning. So initial risk or high level risk is being documented in the project charter. And also whatever the assumptions or constraints or the situations they foresee during the life cycle of the project is being documented as assumptions and constraints of the project. And also who are the key stakeholders of the project, how they will be involved in the project, how they will influence the project. Most importantly, the project charter documents who is the project manager. Who is the project manager and what is his level of authority is defined in the project charter. That's why for the project managers, project charter is an important document, not only for project managers, of course, it's for all the key stakeholders. The project charter gives you the high level understanding of the project. This is what contains in the project charter. You can see the process mapping for the project charter. When we develop the project charter, many of the other processes in the other process group is utilizing the project charter in order to perform the project deliverables. So what are the processes utilizing this result? Develop project management plan, which is in the planning process. Collect requirements, plan scope management, define scope, plan schedule management, plan cost management, plan quality management, plan resource management, plan communications management, plan risk management, plan procurement management, identify stakeholders, plan stakeholder engagement, close project affairs. All these processes are utilizing the project charter in performing the process result or achieving the project result. So when we develop the project charter, it is not going to be there alone. It is being interacted with all other processes. So all these processes are utilizing the information contained in the project charter in producing the result of those processes. So basically, project charter documents the high-level information of the project and the product, service, or result the project is intended. That's why I said project purpose, measurable project objectives and related success criteria, high-level requirements of the stakeholders, high-level project description, boundaries and key deliverables expected from the project, overall project risk, summary milestone schedule, pre-approved financial resources, key stakeholders list, project approval requirements like what is project success, who decides the project is successful, who signs up the project has to be defined, project exit criteria, what are the conditions to be met in order to close or cancel the project or phase, assigned a project manager, responsibility and authority level is defined in the project charter, name and authority of the sponsors and other person who is signing the project charter is indicated in the project charter. Basically, project charter is a initiation document which authorizes the existence of the project. It authorizes the existence of the project. Right. The next step is identify stakeholders. Identify stakeholders. What is that? Which is also initiating process. What do you mean by identifying stakeholders? In the project charter, the key stakeholders are indicated. In the project charter, key stakeholders are indicated. But that is not good enough. We need to identify all the stakeholders as feasible in this stage of the project life cycle. Why? When we move to the planning, we are going to collect the requirements from the stakeholders. So from who you are going to collect the requirement? From the stakeholders. So you need to have all the stakeholders in your hand as feasible. You may not be able to identify the stakeholders in this stage by the name or by the position. But in this stage, you are trying to put effort in identifying the stakeholders at the organization level. Like we need design, interior design consultant, we need security consultant, we need say safety consultant, we need to have other expertise consultants. That kind of level you could identify in this stage of the project life cycle. The purpose is we want to identify all the stakeholders as feasible in this stage so that when we move to the planning, we will be able to collect all the requirements. We need to collect all the requirements in detail in order to come up with a plans. That's why we are putting in. So the success of the project depends on how well you identify the stakeholders and manage their expectations and requirements throughout the project life cycle. So the result of this process is stakeholder register. What is the result of this process? Stakeholder register. What is in the stakeholder register? We are identifying who is the stakeholder, which organization is coming from, what is the role he is going to play in the project, what kind of influence he may exert on the project, what are all the key requirements of this stakeholder, what are the expectations of the stakeholder, whether the stakeholder is a supporter to the project, neutral to the project, or resistant to the project, and what kind of knowledge, skills, expertise an experience the stakeholder is having. That kind of information is being collected and documented into the stakeholder register. So these are the two processes in the initiation. So when you look at the stakeholder register, it allows the project manager to identify the appropriate focus for each of the stakeholders or group of the stakeholders. Because not all the stakeholders are same. We have different stakeholders having different requirements, different expectations, different deliverables expected by the stakeholders, and different kind of involvement and influence they may exert on the project. So this stakeholder register gives you the very good understanding of the different type of stakeholders and the focus which we need to adopt to the different stakeholders while you are coming up with your stakeholder engagement plan in the planning process. The next step is, okay, we completed the initiation now. Next, we move on to the planning. What is the first process in the planning? Develop project management plan. Develop project management plan. What is the result of this process? Project management plan. What is the result of this process? Project management
plan.
Yes. So what is that project management plan? Project management plan is the compilation of all our plans created in the planning process group, which is the compilation of plans created in the other knowledge areas, like scope management plan, schedule management plan, cost management plan, quality management plan, and so on. When we finalize our plans, we are going to get scope baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline, performance measurement baseline, other documents like risk register, project scope statement. There are many planning outputs is being produced. All are being collected and called as project management plan. But this process is the first process in the planning work, right? So when we start the project, or when we are starting the planning work, are we going to get the project management plan? We will get this project management plan upon completing all the planning processes. We come back to this process, we pull all the plans and compile as a project management plan. Correct? You may not get the project management plan, all the components at the start of the planning work. Correct or not? Tell me, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are.
Yes. So are we able to get the project management plan at the start of the project life cycle?
No.
No. So what are we doing in this process when we're starting the planning work?
Ravi, can you ask again, please?
Yeah. No, when we start the develop project management plan process, it's the first process in the planning, right? That means
Yes.
we're just starting the planning.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are we doing in this process? Why?
We
The
need
final result of the develop project management plan process is project management plan. You may not get the project management plan when you are starting the project itself, or when you're starting the planning itself, hold on for a minute.
First, we need to define the scope management. We design the scope. Right, friends?
Yeah, please, yeah. When we are starting the plan, what is the first step in the planning work? I will ask the other way. What is the first step in the planning work?
Scope. We need to define the scope first.
We need to define the scope. That we will be doing it in the next processes, which is collect requirements and then define the scope. But when we are starting the planning work, what are we doing in this process?
First, we have to know the target date, completion date of the project. Normally, we have to develop the plan.
So we need to come up with a milestone.
Milestone. We have to know the milestone.
Come up with a milestone schedule.
Yeah. Then first will we go for the, I can say for the engineering stage. If we develop the plan, first has to be taken care of the engineering, then procurement, then construction, testing, commissioning, handover. So all these key things has to be taken care of project before doing any planning.
Right.
And duration of the requirement for each and every, what are the duration is going to be taken care of.
Of course, now, when we start the planning work, we may not be able to get all the plans when we start the plan itself. We need to develop a lot of plans. We need to collect the requirements, we need to finalize the scope, we need to create the schedule, we need to create the budget, we need to create the cost estimation, and so on. We need to create the quality standard, determine the quality standards, and so on. There are a lot of work to be done in the plan. So my question is, how are you going to do the planning? This is what the first thing we need to think. So when you are starting this process first time, when you are doing the planning work, you need to question yourself, how are you going to do the planning for this project? How are you going to do the planning for this project? So what does that mean? You need to think as a high level, how are you going to manage this project? What is the information available about the project currently? What is the information available with you?
Resources.
We finished only 2 processes, right? We finished 2 processes. So what level of information available with you currently? You have only project charter. You have only project charter. What is the level of information about the project in the project charter?
High level information.
High level information. Is it good enough for you to finish the project?
No.
Or to finish the planning?
No.
No. So we need to have a detailed information, right? That's why we have a process called collect requirements. So what we are doing as a first step in the process, by understanding the information contained in the project charter, we need to strategize. We need to strategize how we are going to manage this project. Meaning, we need to come up with a mind mapping about the processes we are going to utilize in managing this project. What does that mean? How many processes we have? Total, how many processes we have?
49.
49.
49 processes. Good.
Yes.
Are you going to use all the 49 processes in all the projects?
No.
No. How much you will use it? 10 process, 15 process, 20 process, or 25 processes? How? How will determine? That's what we are doing as a first step.
The project we have to select.
Select
Based on the
appropriate processes from each process group. What are the processes we are going to utilize from planning process group? What are the processes from the executing process group? What are all the processes from the monitoring control process group? What are all the processes from the closing process group? What are all the tools and techniques we may utilize in performing these processes? What is the level of implementation of these processes required? What is the interaction required between these processes in order to achieve the project results? Has to be tailor-made by understanding the nature of the project, size of the project, complexity of the project, content in the project charter. Because the only document available with you at this stage of the planning work is project charter. So when you go through the project charter, you will be able to determine the nature of the project, size of the project, complexity of the project. Accordingly, we will be able to select appropriate processes from the each process group. That is called tailoring concept. That is called tailoring concept. You as a project manager, you and your team responsible for determining the required or selected project management processes and the necessary tools and techniques, level of implementation, rigorous of implementation, and the interaction required between the various processes are to be tailor-made to suit your specific project. That is called tailoring. That's what we are doing in the first step. When we determine this, we can move to the next process. That means we are only setting a strategy, how we are going to manage this project, documenting the selected processes, tools and techniques, level of implementation, rigorous of implementation, and the interaction between the various processes is being determined as a mind mapping in the first step. That's all we do in this process. That's all we do in this process. Now it's fine. As I told you, what is the result of this process? It's a compilation of all the management plans. What are all the management plans? You have scope management plan, requirement management plan, schedule management plan, cost management plan, quality management plan, process improvement plan, resource management plan, communications management plan, risk management plan, procurement management plan, stakeholder engagement plan, baseline, scope baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline, performance measurement baseline, all are compiled together called as project management plan. Other plans like change management plan, configuration management plan, performance measurement baseline, project lifecycle and determination, development approach, management review. This is a summation of the entire. So the project management plan is divided into two components. One is the project management plan. The other one is the project documents. Because through the planning work, we are going to create a lot of output. All are important deliverables as a project management deliverable. These are being collected and documented as project documents, which are necessary for managing our project. Is it clear what we are doing in the project management plan process? Yes, tell me.
Yes.
Yes. But we will not be getting all these outputs when you are starting the planning work, right? It's not logical. We will get all these outputs only upon the completion of all the planning processes. So that's why I said the first step in the planning work is determining the strategy, determining the approach, how we are going to manage the project by selecting the appropriate processes, tools and techniques, level of implementation, degrees of implementation, and the interaction required between the processes has to be tailor-made to suit a specific project. That's what we are doing as a first step. Then we move to the next process. When we finish all the processes, planning processes, we will come back to this process again to compile the project management plan. That's the way we move. Very good. What is the next step?
Scope management.
What's the next
Scope
process
management.
in the mapping?
Plan,
Plan,
scope management.
Plan, scope management. Plan, scope management. What we do in this process? This is one of the good concepts. If you look at the process mapping, in every knowledge area, the first process in the planning is development of management plan. Development of management plan. In the scope area, plan scope management. Result is scope management plan. In the schedule area, plan schedule management plan. Then cost management plan, quality management plan. Each area, the first process is developing the management. What is management plan? What we are expecting in this process is, you as a project manager, we cannot jump into action straight away. We cannot jump into action straight away. Before you move to the processes, you need to develop a strategy and approach. How we are going to manage this particular knowledge area. Say, for example, scope management. In this process, we are developing scope management plan. We are developing Yes, I did it. I moved everybody. So what we are doing in this process? Plan scope management. Result of the process is scope management plan. What is scope management plan? We are thinking about how we are going to manage the scope. How we are going to manage the scope. What do you mean by how we are going to manage the scope? We are thinking about how we are going to plan, how we are going to execute, how we are going to measure our performance during execution, how we are going to control when there are variances in the project, how we are going to close. So we need to think about every aspect. We need to come up with a strategy and approach, how we are going to manage the scope of the project. That's what we are defining in the scope management plan. Where we are thinking about how are you going to collect the requirements? How are you going to collect the requirements? How are you going to define the scope of the project? How are you going to define the scope of the project? How are you going to define the scope of the project? what are the tools and techniques we may utilize? How are you going to come up with a WBS for the project? How are you going to come up with a WBS for the project? What are the tools and techniques you may utilize? What are the tools and techniques you may utilize? Right. Then you have to think about, this is what the first part of the thinking in our planning. So we have processes. 1 minute, I will also share this process again. Right. Sure. Just want you to take to the process again. Why it is not coming? Okay. So in the scope management plan process, we have the plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, create WBS. It's all part of the planning one. So in the plan scope management plan, we are creating a scope management plan by defining how are you going to plan the scope of the project. Where we are thinking about how are you going to collect the requirements. What are all the tools and techniques you may utilize? How are you going to define the scope of the project? What are all the tools and techniques you may apply? Then how are you going to create the WBS? What are all the tools and techniques you may apply? What is WBS? Work breakdown structure. How are you going to create? What are all the tools and techniques you may apply? Now, we are only in the planning, right? So we may not have a chance to think about execution and control stages. We will think about execution control stages upon finishing the plan. So in the first step in the development of the scope management plan, we only think about planning. When we complete our all planning processes, we go back to all the management plan creation process. We will think about how are you going to execute, how are you going to control, how are you going to close, how are you going to close. All need to be thought of and finalize the project management plan. So as a first step, we need to only think about how we are going to plan. So when I say management plan, it is not only thinking about planning, it's thinking about how are you going to plan, how are you going to execute, how are you going to measure the performance, how are you going to control. When there are variances are identified in the project, when the variances are minor in nature, what will you do? When the variances are major in nature, what will you do? How will you close the project? All we are thinking as part of the management plan. In this manner, you have a clear strategy in your hand in managing the scope of the project. Same. When we go to the plan schedule management, we create the schedule management plan. We develop our strategy and approach. So you will have a documented strategy and approach in your hand in performing all other processes. So you will be able to perform your project management processes efficiently because you will not stuck anywhere. If you don't think in advance, generally we must keep at this point in your mind. Project manager must always think in advance. How are you going to plan? How are you going to execute? How are you going to measure the performance? How are you going to control? How are you going to close? This has to be thought of at the planning itself, and we need to have a clear strategy in our hand to manage each area. Scope management, schedule management, cost management, quality management, resource management, communications management, and so on. Without this strategy, you straight away jump into action, you may stuck somewhere. Then you will not be able to perform the processes efficiently. If you have the strategy in your hand, you already thought about it, you have a clear processes and procedures in your hand so that you can able to flow through the processes smoothly without any difficulties. So, which become your work efficient. That's what we are trying to do in the management plan creation. What is the next step? Collect requirements. Collect requirements. What do you mean by collect requirements? What are we going to do here? We do not have any requirements so far. Do you have requirements in our hands so far or not?
Yes, during the
Yeah,
time
there is. The project
Yes,
data.
we
What
have, but it's a high level.
Yes. You have only high level requirements which are documented in the project charter. You are only having high level requirements which is available in the project charter. Is it good enough for you to develop the plans?
No.
To start.
We need to have a detailed requirement. We need to have a detailed requirements in our hand. That's what we are doing in this process. So here we are collecting the detailed requirements from the stakeholders, from all the stakeholders. We are collecting the detailed requirements from all the stakeholders. What do you mean by detailed requirements? I can list out. Firstly, we need to understand what is the product they are expecting us to complete. We need to have the product requirements, technical requirements, quality requirements, test requirements, acceptance requirements, verification requirements, handing over requirements, functional requirements, business requirements. So I can keep listing out this. So we are collecting the requirements from each of the stakeholders in detail and documenting them under this process. So what is the result of this process? Requirements documentation. Requirements documentation. That is one of the result of this process. Where the requirement should be well detailed enough and quantified so that we can able to create a plan for achieving all these requirements in the subsequent planning processes. All the plans we are going to create using the 24 planning processes. What is the purpose? We want to show the plan to them? No. These plans are demonstrating how we are going to achieve the requirements you have collected in this process. Basically, the plans are created for achieving the stakeholders' requirements. That's why I said the requirements must be detailed enough and well quantified without any ambiguity, so that you will be able to come up with a plan for meeting all the requirements throughout the project life cycle. Okay. This is one of the results from this process. The second result from this process is requirements traceability matrix. Requirements traceability matrix. What is this? When we are collecting the requirement, what are the requirements we are collecting? product requirement, project requirements, technical requirements, quality requirements, test requirements, verification requirements, handing over requirements, maintenance requirements, and so on. Do you think all these requirements are being provided by a single stakeholder?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
No, definitely no. So there are even in the, all the requirements are being defined by the various stakeholders. Maybe certain, there is two stakeholders involved in the defining the product, three stakeholders involved in defining the technical requirements, defining the technology methodology standards. There are multi-stakeholders involved in the defining the various requirements of the project. How we are going to keep track of them? What do you mean by how we are going to keep track of them? You need to ensure that you are managing all the stakeholders who has provided you the requirements, and you need to ensure that all the requirements are being taken care during the planning, taken care during execution, taken care when there are variances in the performance, until you hand over the deliverable to the stakeholders in the closer. So you have a responsibility to manage all these requirements throughout the project life cycle. Correct or not?
Correct.
So how we are going to achieve that? So in order to make our life easier, we are creating a requirement traceability matrix, where we are linking each requirement. What is the objective? These requirements are linked: schedule objective, or cost objective, or quality objective, and so on. And then who are the stakeholders who are involved? Who provided this? Who decided this? Who is going to give approval for this product? All are being documented so that you have a clear tracking matrix available with you in your hand throughout the project lifecycle. Of course, it gets updated throughout the project lifecycle, because whenever you are making changes, these requirements may get changed, which is also being updated into the requirement traceability. Assuming you don't have any requirement traceability matrix in your hand, you are not created in this process. You moved on to the planning. You finalize the plan. You move to the execution. When you are doing execution, you have a problem in one of the deliverables or one of the package, where you are not able to achieve the certain requirements of the stakeholders defined in our scope of work. How will you solve this problem? How will you solve this problem? Now you are in a situation, you are not able to achieve certain requirements of the stakeholders. So how will you deal with this problem? You call for a team meeting. You are trying to come up with various solutions. Is it good enough for us? No. You may not be able to solve this problem until you discuss with the stakeholder who have provided you the requirements related to this deliverable. Not only one stakeholder, there are multi-stakeholders who are involved in defining the requirements related to this deliverable. So how are you going to identify them? So you are going back to planning documents, which we have done 3 years ago. Dig all the documents, dig all the meeting minutes we have conducted, and then you read through, identify who are the stakeholders who are involved in defining the various requirements of this deliverable, and then you call for a workshop with them. Maybe it takes a couple of weeks. By the time your problem already bigger. Is it easier way of management? No. So in order to make our life easier in managing the stakeholders throughout the project life cycle and their requirements, we are creating a requirement traceability matrix. So we know this in this particular deliverable, what are the requirements, who are the stakeholders involved, and we can easily, whenever we have a problem, we can be able to discuss with them and come up with the resolutions quickly, so that we will be able to manage the requirements efficiently. And also, we are achieving the engagement of the stakeholders into the project work. As I told you before, the success of the project depends on how well you are engaging the stakeholders into the project work. So we are achieving. That's called requirement traceability matrix. These two are the result of this process. What's the next process? Define scope. What's the next process? Define scope. What do you mean by define scope? It's a scope of work, right? What do you mean by scope of work? Now, you are in the project, every day you are dealing with this scope of work. You are, most of the time, everybody is involved in managing the scope of work. Can you tell me, what is the structure of the scope of work? What is the structure of the scope of work? How it is structured? What is written in the scope of work? Every day you are seeing the scope of work. How it is written? That's what I'm asking. What is the structure of the what are the various elements contained in the scope of work? Can you imagine and tell me?
It's like based on the project. Suppose the project is a design and build, then we have to go for the design stage, then the so I can
Design
say,
stage.
yeah, design, then construction, then testing, commissioning. So there is a based on the project awarded to us, because if there is a design and build, or this only the construction, we have to look for the construction.
Anything. Scope
Yeah.
of work is
Yeah.
whether it is design and build, maybe the level of detail, level of content will be different.
Mhm. Yes.
Same
We
structure.
can check BOQs. We can check the IFC drawing which is awarded to us. Our scope of work will be defined in that IFC drawings also.
The supporting documents of the scope of work.
All supporting documents and scope of work.
When you read through any scope of work, generally it is a structure. It starts with the
Yes.
executive summary of the scope of work, and then they
Yes.
talk about product details,
Some requirement,
say,
yeah.
performance, or functional expected from the product. And then they talk about methodology, technology, standard, processes, procedure need to be utilized in doing the project, doing the scope of work. And then they talk about quality aspects. And then they talk about test aspects or verification aspects. And then they talk about acceptance aspects. What are the acceptance requirements of these stakeholders? And then finally, maintenance aspects also they will mention. Then finally, you will see one statement: project exclusions. Project exclusions. Can you realize now? So they are defining what all the items included in this project. Finally, they are making it clear what all the items not included in this project. So the generally scope of work is a detailed document which integrates product and project requirements in a well-detailed manner in order to make sure what is included in this project, what is not included in this project. That level of clear definement must be available in the scope of work. Then only it can be called as good scope of work. Why? The scope of work must be well detailed description of the project and the product. That's why I said integration of product requirement and project requirement will give you the good project scope statement, which is the scope of work. The project management terminology, which is the result of this process, is project scope statement. What is the result of this process? Project scope statement. So generally, we are using the terminology here, scope of work. So, which is the basis for us measuring the progress during the execution and control. To measure our scope performance, this is the key document. Of course, there are other documents we need to utilize. So, but we must remember one key point when I talk about the scope of work, which is project scope statement. What I am doing in this process, I am integrating the collected requirements in a manner which is clear to all stakeholders. What is included in this project, what is not included in this project. Such a level of detailed, well-defined scope of work is being produced in this process, which are to be signed by stakeholders. They must say, yes, this is final. So whenever I use the terminology, project scope statement, it gives me two important message. It gives me two important message. What is the two message? Number one, it tells me that we have the final scope of work in our hand. It tells me we have the final scope of work in our hand. What is that so important? Final scope of work in my hand. Without finalizing the scope, are you able to continue the planning work? No.
No.
Even if you continue the planning work, you may get the plans, but your plans never get finalized. Why? Your scope itself is not
Because
finalized.
you're not defined.
Yes. Your scope itself not final. So you keep changing your plan because you keep changing your scope of work. That's why in the project management, in the planning processes, up to this point, our focus is getting the scope finalized and get the stakeholders sign off. That's what we are trying to achieve. Okay, that is one good point. Second point, what does that mean? That means we are ready to start the planning work. So when I see the terminology, project scope statement, it gives me the indication, number one, yes, we have the final scope of work in our hand. What's the second indication? That means we are ready to start the planning work. So our real planning work starts only upon completion of the defined scope project. Defined scope project. So when we finalize the scope statement, that means we are ready to start the planning work. Clear? This is what we are trying to achieve. The next step, what's the next step? Create WBS. Create WBS. What is WBS?
Work breakdown structure.
Work breakdown structure. What is that?
Scheduling the work. Scheduling the work according to activities.
Scheduling the work. Schedule work, next step is the planning for the schedule development. Will be next step. Now, what we have done so far in the scope management area, we came up with a scope management plan where define our strategy, right? Then next process, we collected the requirements in detail. We got the requirement documentation. Then based on the requirement documentation, we came up with a project scope statement. So we integrated the product requirements and project requirement into the scope of work, which is project scope statement. Now it's our next step, which is creation of WBS. What does that mean? When I complete the scope of work process, as a project manager, theoretically talking, my table is full. My table is full. What? I have the volume of, say, project charter documents. I have the multi-volume of the requirement documentation we created. Maybe architectural document, mechanical, electrical, and so on, requirements, collections, which is multi-volumes are available. Now we created the scope of work, which is project scope statement, also multi-volume. That's the final document now, which is architectural package, mechanical package, electrical package, IT package, and so on. So my table is full now. What is my duty now? I am here now to develop the plans. When I look at all these documents with my table full, what I will feel? Oh my God.
We should
How I am going to do the
divide into
planning
project,
for
yes.
this project. I will feel like, oh, very big. It's very hard. That's what I will feel. By looking at the various volume of documents in my hand. But actually it is easier. So in order to make my life easier, I'm thinking, why we need to keep all these documents in detail and try to create the plan? Why not we break down this scope of work into the deliverables we are going to create? Why not we break down the scope of work into the deliverables we are going to create? Once I understand the deliverables I am going to create from this scope of work, then my life becomes easier. Once I understand the deliverable, no, I know how to create. So the WBS creation is nothing but breaking down the scope of work into deliverable-oriented components. Whenever you see the deliverables are bigger, the project is big. If you keep this as a big and you are trying to create a plan, detailed planning are very hard. But if you break this project into smaller ones until you feel the deliverable is smaller in size, then easy for you to do everything. Easy for you to plan, easy for you to execute, easy for you to control, easy for you to hand over, easy for you to get acceptance from the stakeholders. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make my life easier through this process. So I am breaking down the scope of work into deliverable oriented components. Say for example, building project. I'm breaking down the scope into the project, entire project scope into phase 1, phase 2, deliverable 1, deliverable 2, sub-project 1, sub-project 2. I see this still bigger. Say phase 1 or say phase 2, I break down into 3 deliverables. Or still bigger. Say the deliverable 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. I see 2.2 still bigger. So I break down into another 2 smaller deliverables. Or still bigger, I break down into another 3 work packages. So now I can see in phase 2 what are all the deliverables I'm going to create. So let's take an example of building project. What are the deliverables you are going to produce? Generally, when you break down the project, first deliverable substructure, then superstructure, architecture work, mechanical work, electrical work, infrastructure work, and so on. When I say substructure, again bigger, I break down into basement 1, basement 2, and foundation, and so on. Until I feel the deliverable is smaller in size. When the deliverable is smaller in size, easy for me to plan, Easy for me to determine the quality standard. Easy for me to determine the activities. Easy for me to determine the cost. Easy for me to determine the duration. Easy for me to determine the sequence need to be adapted in producing the deliverable. All will become easier. That's what we are doing in this. The lowest level in the WBS structure is called work package. The lowest level in the WBS is called work package. When I reach to the work package level, what does that mean? Oh, the deliverable is smaller in size. So when I look at the WBS, what I will feel now? What I could see in this WBS. These are the deliverables we are going to produce in this project. These are the deliverables we are going to produce in this project. What does that mean? So we understand the whole project now. We understand all the project deliverables we are going to produce. When I understand the deliverables which I am going to produce, easy for me to plan, execute, control, and close it. Most of the time, what is the difficulty? We are not able to understand the project. We are not able to understand the project. When you are not able to understand the project, everything becomes difficult. So through the WBS creation, we are able to visualize the entire project. We are able to visualize the entire project. So once you visualize the project, you are easy for you to manage, easy for you to plan, execute, control, and close it. That's what we are trying to do in this process. We are trying to make our life easier in managing the project. So if you try to develop the plans, detailed plans, by reading through each and every line of scope of work, you never finish the plan. And you will feel very tough also, which is not logical also. That's why, in order to make our life easier, we are breaking down the scope into deliverable-oriented components to make our life easier in achieving the project deliverable which we are expected to produce. Clear?
Clear.
Very good. That's why I say work breakdown structure will smoothen the way for estimating the project cost, time, scheduling the resources, determining the quality control. Everything will become easier. Later, when you are going to measure the progress, which is going to be based on WBS element. Here I can even say WBS is going to be basis for many things. Networking, scheduling is developed based on WBS. Cost estimation is done based on WBS. Package cost. Each package cost, you get the total project cost. Risk analysis is being carried out based on WBS. Organizational structure is determined based on WBS, which department responsible, which packages. Staffing is determined based on WBS. Control of the project elements determined based on WBS. Measurement of progress is going to be done based on WBS. I could say it is one of the most important project management tools. It serves as a foundation for your planning, estimating, and project control. It serves as a deterrent to scope change. It serves as a deterrent to scope change. What do you mean by serves as a deterrent to scope change? Whenever the stakeholders asking for a change to the scope of work or asking for a deliverable in the project, what should be your response? So let us look at the WBS. If the deliverable is in the WBS, yes sir, it is part of this project, you will be able to get according to the schedule. If the deliverable is not in the WBS, sorry sir, it is not part of the project. That's what the meaning of deterrent to the scope change. So what is the result of this process?
Scope management plan.
Scope baseline.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah, okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yes, this is the problem with this. Okay. So what is the result of the create WBS process? Scope baseline. What is scope baseline? There are three documents contained together called as scope baseline. One is the project scope statement. Second one is the WBS. And third one is the WBS dictionary. WBS dictionary. These three documents together called as scope baseline. We know the project scope statement. We know the WBS. Then what is WBS dictionary? So in the WBS, there are many deliverables, many work packages in WBS. The bottommost, the smallest element is work package. There are many work packages. So we need to manage all these work packages throughout the project lifecycle until you hand over these deliverables to the stakeholders. So how are you going to manage? There are many elements of the work package need to be managed. Like which revision of requirement documentation related to the work package we need to manage. Which revision of scope of work related to this package we need to manage. Milestone information, quality standards and methodology, quality requirements or quality acceptance criteria, product acceptance criteria, the stakeholders acceptance criteria, contractual conditions related to the package. There are many elements which we need to manage throughout the project lifecycle. So how we are going to keep track of them? So what we are doing through the planning, when we complete all the planning work, we are collecting all the related information about this work package, documenting into the WBS dictionary. So when I'm managing that package, I know what are the elements to manage. So I will be able to manage that package efficiently and complete complete the work and hand over to the stakeholders. So of course, scope baseline is the part of the project management plan letter. What do you mean by baseline here? When I'm going through the scope of work, I'm going through multi-revisions. Revision 0, revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, revision 4. When I reached to revision 4, all the stakeholders said, yes, this is perfect. The scope of work is very well detailed. We agree with the scope of work, they sign off. And also when they see the WBS, oh, all the deliverables are captured. Okay, this is perfect. And then we collect all the information, we put it into the WBS dictionary. Then scope baseline revision 3 is the final revision. What does that mean? All the stakeholders agree, yes, this could be the basis for measuring our performance during execution related to the scope of work. That's called become scope baseline. So if you complete the project work as per the scope baseline, you are achieving one of the project success. Achieving one of the project success criteria. Of course, our main aim is we want to complete the project within the baseline. Very good. Next step, plan schedule management. Plan schedule management. When you are going to this process, I want you to look at the mapping again. I want you to look at the mapping again. Where is the mapping? Where is the mapping? Where is the mapping? So what's the next step? Plan schedule management, right? What do you mean by plan schedule management?
Timelining.
What is the result of this process? When I say plan schedule management, what is the result of this process? Schedule management plan. Schedule management plan. What do you mean by schedule management plan? What are you thinking in this process? What I told you. Every knowledge area, the first process is development of management plan, right?
Yeah.
In the scope management area, first process is plan scope management. So we have created scope management plan. This process, time management area, first process is plan schedule management. So the result of this
Ravi,
process is schedule.
we're not seeing your screen.
You are not seeing our screen. Wait a minute, why?
We're just seeing your drive. We're not seeing this.
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, now
Yes.
it's now
Now it's
better.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are all the processes we have in the schedule management knowledge area in the planning work? First process is plan schedule management, then define activities,
Sequence,
Sequence,
of activities,
estimate activity.
estimate
Durations and
activity
develop schedule.
duration, develop schedule. Develop schedule. These are the processes you need to perform. So what are you thinking in this process? Then we have control processes, which is control schedule. These are the processes in our schedule management knowledge area. Very good. So what are we thinking in this process? What I told you about management plan? Project managers must have advanced thinking how we are going to plan, how we are going to execute, how we are going to control, how we are going to close. This strategy and approach must be available in our hand when we are starting the thinking about that management knowledge area. Here we are thinking about time management knowledge area, right? So where we are thinking about how I am going to define the project activities. What are the tools and techniques I may utilize? How I am going to come up with a sequencing of project activities? What are the tools and techniques I may utilize? How I am going to come up with a duration estimate for each activity? How long each activity is going to take? What are the tools and techniques I may utilize in determining the duration of each activity? How I am going to come up with a project schedule? What are the tools and techniques I may utilize? In the schedule development, I have a lot of techniques. Schedule network analysis, critical path method, critical chain method, schedule compression, resource leveling, resource smoothing. There are multi techniques available in developing this schedule. So you may need to select the combination of techniques in coming up with your schedule development. That's what you are thinking. Then later you also need to think about how you are going to control the schedule. Meaning, how are you going to measure the progress? What is the frequency of progress measurement? Is it going to be weekly measurement or bi-weekly measurement or monthly measurement? When you are measuring and determining the performance, what are you going to do? You may determine on schedule or behind schedule or ahead of schedule. When we are on schedule or ahead of schedule, no problem. We are doing good. When you are behind schedule, we need to come up with a necessary corrective action to improve the schedule performance. That's what we are thinking. When the schedule variance is minor in nature, what will you do? When the schedule variance is major in nature, what will you do? So 10 days delay, 1 month delay. What will you do in 10 days delay, which is minor? What will you do in 1 month delay, which is major? That's what we are thinking and coming up with a strategy and approach for managing the schedule throughout the project life cycle. So when I say management plan, it contains, in our case, we have only 2 areas we have processes, planning and control. So we are thinking about how are you going to plan, how are you going to control. That's all in this management plan. So you will have a clear strategy and approach in your hand in managing the time throughout the project life cycle, which is called schedule management plan. Very good. Next step. That's the next process. What is the next step?
Activity.
Right. It's not moving. So maybe I use the wrong file. Okay. So what's the next step?
Define activities.
Define activities. Very good. What do you mean by define activities?
Yes.
What do you mean by define activities? What we did in the create WBS process, What will be doing?
We shall be define which activities should be take place and which sequence should be take place.
So you need to determine what are all the activities to be performed in producing each deliverable. That's why I ask you what you did in the previous process WBS. The WBS, we break down the scope into deliverables, right? The lowest level is work package.
Yes.
So work package is a deliverable, right?
Yes.
So now our next level of thinking should be, how are we going to create the work package or deliverable?
Okay.
What are the actions and activity necessary for performing each deliverable or producing each deliverable? What are the actions and activities to be performed in producing each deliverable? That's what called defined activities. You are listing out the activities to be performed in producing each deliverable or work package. So listing out activity 1, activity 2, activity 3 and so on. So what is the result of this process? Activity list. What is the result of this process? Activity list. What is the second result of this process? Activity attributes. Activity attributes. What do you mean by activity attributes? You need to define the characteristics of each activity. Characteristics of each activity. What do you mean by that? So, for example, one of the activity you said excavation. That's what you mentioned simply, excavation. Excavation is one of the activity you mentioned. But you did not mention what is the nature of excavation. Is the excavation on sandy soil? Is the excavation on hard soil? Is the excavation on rocky soil? Or excavation on the loose soil? It has to be mentioned. Why? The sequencing of activity, duration estimation, resource estimation, all depends on the nature of the activity. That's why we are defining the characteristics of the activity, which is called activity attributes. And also one more result from this process, milestone list. Milestone list. Maybe you heard this terminology, milestone, right?
Yes.
Where is milestone? When you are listing out the activities, you could see the important events or key deliverables which we need to achieve in order to complete the project. Milestones does not have a duration. Milestone either indicate commencement date or completion date of a key deliverable or key event. So this is one of the results. The next step is sequencing of activities. Sequence activities. What do you mean by sequence? So for example, when I determine activities, one of the deliverable, I got 20 activities to be performed in producing the deliverable. Am I going to carry out all the activities same time?
Of course not.
Definitely,
No.
it's not logical, right? So what we need to do? We need to determine what is the logical way of doing these activities in achieving the production of this deliverable. What is the logical way of doing these activities in order to produce this deliverable, which is called sequencing of activities. So how will you do that generally? In order to determine the appropriate sequence, we need to understand how the activities are dependent on each other. We need to determine the dependencies between the activities so that we can come up with a logical way of doing these activities in producing the each deliverable. What is the result of this process? Project schedule network diagram. What's the result of this process? Project schedule network diagram, or simply we call it as network diagram. So in the network diagram, you can able to see until end of the project in what sequence the project activities are being carried out in producing the project deliverable. That's called sequencing of activity. What's the next step? Estimate activity duration. Estimate
Activity duration.
activity duration. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was internet not stable. It came up. That's why I'm. Okay. What's the next step? Estimate activity duration.
Duration.
What does that mean? We need to determine how long each activity is going to take. How long each activity is going to take. What does that mean? How will you determine that? The duration of any activity depends on the nature of the activity,
Yes.
likely dependencies between the activities, and the resources applied on the activity. Resources applied. For example, you want to paint this building. If you put 20 workers, they may take 1 month. If you put 40 workers, they may finish it in 15 days. That too depends on the skill level of the worker. If you put an unskilled painter, they may even take 2 months. So the duration of any activity depends on the quantity of the resource applied and skill level of the resources you applied on the activity. Accordingly, we are determining the duration of each activity. That's what we are doing in the estimate activity durations. You are determining the duration estimate for each activity. What is the next step? Develop schedule. Develop schedule. What is the result of this process? Project schedule. Project schedule is the result of this process. Of course, the final result is schedule baseline. Schedule baseline is the second result. What do you mean by project schedule? In the previous process, estimate activity duration, you know each activity, how long it's going to take. Assuming I have 10 activities. Each activity take 20 days. What is the duration of the project? Can you determine? 10 into 20,
Critical path
200
will.
days. 10 into 20, 200 days is the duration of the project? No.
Yes.
It is not the summation of duration of all the activities. We need to put these durations into the calendar. Based on our sequence, we should be able to determine what is the duration required for completing the project. So we are determining the project duration through this process. It is a calendar base of determining the duration of the project, where we are using a lot of techniques. Schedule network analysis, critical path method, critical chain method, schedule compression techniques. There are two techniques. One is crashing, another one is fast tracking, resource leveling, resource smoothing, simulation techniques like Monte Carlo simulation. There are multi techniques available for us in coming up with a project schedule. So we may need to use the combination of techniques in order to come up with a schedule. When you are coming up with a schedule, no project can get finalized a schedule in a single revision. You may go for multiple revision of the schedule, where you are thinking of about different methodology, different technology. Why not we apply the different type of resources here? Why not we cut down the resources here? Why not we increase the resources here? Why not we use the different sequence here? You may do the multi-analysis in coming up with a final schedule. So when you are going through the development of multi-revision of schedule, what does that mean? You are trying to get the buy-in of the stakeholders into your schedule. You are trying to get the buy-in of the stakeholders into your schedule. Your stakeholders should believe your schedule is workable, achievable, and realistic. This is what we are trying to achieve through the project schedule development process, where we are doing every exercise to achieve the final schedule, which must be bought into, realistic, and approved by all the stakeholders. What we are bought into? We are getting the buy-in of the stakeholders into our schedule. Your stakeholders should believe your plans are workable, achievable, and realistic. If you achieve this, then you get the different results. You are increasing the chances of achieving the project success. If your stakeholders doesn't believe your schedule, what they will say? No, who created this schedule? You created, right? You go and implement. We are not interested in implementing this schedule. That means there's no buy-in available. Then we will not get the expected result. That's why in the every planning process, we are going through multi-revisions to get their buy-in into our plan. Clear? So the result of this process is, second result is schedule baseline. We are finalizing the schedule baseline in this process. Okay, let us have a break here, and then let's have a 10-minute break. Good enough?
Yep.
Yes.
Time now 8:45. So okay, 8:55 we will meet. Oh, I didn't receive the recording. Okay. Our duty in the project life cycle is we need to manage the cost baseline within and complete the project within the cost baseline. If you achieve that, you completed the project successfully. This is one of the measurement of project success. All the scope are delivered, completed within the timeline, completed within the agreed budget, met or exceeded the stakeholder satisfaction. These are the some success criteria of the projects. So if you achieve the project completion within the cost baseline, that means you achieved the success criteria. One of the success criteria. This is called cost budgeting process. But when I say cost budgeting and cost estimates, we must do it hand in hand, but estimating should be completed before the budget. When I say cost budgeting, it applies cost over time. Now I'll give you one more example. Wait. Now, the total project budget is how much? 1,423. What is the cost baseline? 1,355. Now, when you establish the cost baseline, what they are going to tell you, they must give you this amount to you. Okay, go and do the project. Are they giving you the complete amount of cost baseline to you at the start of the project? Our cost baseline is $1,355 in our example. Correct?
Correct.
So when you're starting the project, they must give you a check of $1,355. They must tell you, go and do the project. Are they giving you like that? You don't understand my question. No, correct. They're not going to give you the total budgeted amount to you. What they will tell you? Please tell me how you are going to spend this amount throughout the project life cycle. Right? So what I will do? I will take this amount, I will go and distribute to all the packages. I know according to my schedule what all the deliverable coming up in the first quarter, what all the deliverable coming up in the second quarter, what all the deliverable coming up in the third quarter. So I can able to come up with a curve called S curve. This is called a budgeting process. So it is a project cost versus schedule. So I know in first quarter how much I need, how much I need in second quarter, how much I need in third quarter, how much I need the. So you are going to tell them this is the way I am going to spend the project budget throughout the project life cycle, which is called budgeting process. So that's why I told you, whenever I talk about budgeting, I need to decide what is the total cost, what is the contingency reserve, what is the cost baseline. Then only I can able to determine the budgeting requirement for the project. So that's why I'm saying cost budgeting applies cost over time. This results in a time-phased estimate for cost, allowing the organization to predict the cash flow needs. What's the difference between cost estimate and cost budgeting? Cost estimate shows cost by category, meaning labor cost, material cost how much, equipment cost how much, other resources how much, so you can able to get cost by category. Whereas cost budgeting shows cost across time. How much I need on first month, how much I need on second month, how much I need on third month, and so on. That is called cost across time. That's the difference in the budgeting process. Okay, when I talk about this, I'm also talk about control cost. Control cost. So now I finalize the budget, right? Now I finalize all the plans. I move